Hello everyone, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And today Eric and I are going to tell you how we felt about The Great Wall, which is a monster movie, war film with...
based on a true story.
I wanted it to say that so bad. With Matt Damon, and it is about the legend of which I'm sure is not a real life legend at all.
It might be,
but yeah, I'm not sure. But at the beginning, there's words on the screen that talk about like real things that happen around the wall, and then legends.
Yeah, there's real known things and then legends. This is one of the legends. I wouldn't be surprised if this has some kind of root in some kind of legend.
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
People know things about Chinese history.
Yeah, like probably not the design of the creatures. I wouldn't think.
I don't know when they're talking about them and you see them almost in like a painted style. Yeah. I could see.
Oh, that's fair.
I could see a little bit, maybe. I don't know.
But anyway, so this is set around the Middle Ages, and you have a couple of white Europeans that are kind of thieving, and they
just vaguely European.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't know where they're from.
I
felt like Damon was going in and out of an accent just a little bit, and then after a while he just had his regular, until you got to the end, and he came back, and I thought they must have shot the ending toward the beginning.
It's anytime he's with his friend.
Yeah,
that's when he has his accent, and everything else he's just kind of maybe talking slightly heightened.
Yeah, it's almost like they're grabbing accents from each other, like when they're in a room together.
And he looks more Spanish.
Yeah, I thought so too.
I assume he's...
And he talks about working with the Spaniards at one point.
So that might be where they
But I don't get the sense that he's from there necessarily. Because then... I can't remember if he goes against them at any point, because the whole idea is that he's not loyal to any particular cause or any particular group. He just goes where the wind takes him, and he's about surviving. And thematically, the whole movie is about loyalty versus just surviving. And so anyway, they go to the wall in order to try to steal explosive powder. Yeah, gunpowder.
Which I thought was interesting. Because that's a real historical thing that China had it long before anyone else.
Yeah.
The idea that is something that you would want to steal is kind of an interesting idea.
And he ends up working with the Chinese army to stop these monsters, and starts to develop an affinity and a loyalty for them. I thought that Matt Damon ended up being a really good idea, like having your particular. Because some people, when the previews came out, were like, "Oh, of course, it's got to star a white guy, and it's a movie about the Chinese army, you know, at the Great Wall." But it gives us an in to what is played up as like a really advanced alien culture, and I loved that.
It makes sense thematically and narratively for him to. He has to be from somewhere else. For the crux of the story and what they're saying to work. Yeah. He has to be an outsider.
Yeah, like if the female commander was the main character, you wouldn't really have so much of an into the movie. And I mean, I suppose like people who are from there, maybe more so, but still the culture is really alien even if you're from China. Like to some degree I would think.
Because they're like a secret army, they just kind of
Yeah. It's not what present-day China looks like. And so I thought that kind of worked maybe for everybody. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the boards and talk about it. How did you feel about this movie?
So I didn't have anything for my board. So I wrote, made me feel like I was watching the biggest budget Chinese historical epic I'd ever seen.
Historical epic.
I really like this movie.
I don't think this really happened.
I'm not convinced. My education is failing me.
I don't know how we covered that up.
We didn't cover
If we covered it up, just nobody in China ever talked about it after it happened, because there's no way they could cover it up for their entire society.
I did think at the end, I'm like, well, what are you going to do with all those bodies? Like, how do we cover those up? Where'd those go?
Yeah, because there's an obscene amount of monsters.
I really enjoyed this movie. I don't want to say there's a prerequisite to being familiar with Chinese cinema, but there is a very distinct kind of way that they make movies where it's a bit broader with its thematics and with its character stuff. This is not a nuanced film. These are not nuanced characters.
Yeah.
And that's how most Chinese cinema is. So I was kind of already accustomed to that. This is a famous Chinese filmmaker. He has made a lot of very famous Chinese films. Most of them big historical epics. But I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I thought...
it doesn't feel like an especially un-American film either. I mean, I don't mean...
I actually think it did in the actual production. My biggest praise of it, because if this movie has any weakness, it's
the way it's written. Like I don't know that it's that far off from modern conventions of popcorn movies.
Well, like, and in looking at the credits, it seemed like it was all Americans writing it.
Okay.
So it might have been a collaborative.
So it's an American written film.
Yeah.
That's made by a Chinese director.
And everything about this feels real. Integrated. This like I knew that this was a American-Chinese co-production, at least financially.
Yeah.
This feels like an American-Chinese co-production on every level.
Going all the way down the
list. This really feels like two cultures coming together to make a movie, which I really like.
Yeah, me too.
The CGI sometimes is good and sometimes is real dodgy. Mm-hmm. But it's the best CGI I've ever seen in Chinese movies, so I can't complain about that. But I think it completely makes up for dodgy CGI with amazing costuming.
Yes.
And set design. And some of the set design isn't even, actually impressive. It's things that we did in the 90s. We just don't make movies like that anymore.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like when we were Inside the Wall, it looks a lot like Zorro and Three Musketeers. A lot of movies that we were making in the 90s were we made these big sets. We don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
And so I was just happy to see that.
It's kind of nice to go back to that,
But yeah, no, the sets and the costumes. Yeah. But the sets and the costumes were amazing. Like there's a point where we have a huge shot and I was just like, every single one of these people got fitted for armor. We don't do that anymore. We just CGI in a bunch of people. I was really impressed by the scale of this production on a design level.
Especially because I was worried about it at the beginning. That opening shot, I thought we were in trouble. The opening full CG shot. I had a hard time not comparing this in places to Clash of the Titans, which opens with almost 5 straight minutes of nothing but CGI, and I'm wondering if actual people are ever going to show up on the screen. And this movie opens similarly, but not for nearly as long. And there's right at the beginning, there's a bit with the wall where you see a first-person POV of something breaking through it, and it doesn't look like it's remotely there. And I was like, oh no, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And it never looks that bad again.
No. But it is a movie that wears its feelings on its sleeves.
Yes.
But I don't mind, again, I'm kind of familiar with Chinese cinema. I expected that going in, knowing it was a Chinese director. But I liked what it had to say.
It spells out its message
even if it wasn't.
But it's doing that from the beginning, so you know what you're getting yourself into from the very beginning with that.
And I think it's just a lot lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think no one's going to go see this movie.
Nope, you're right. So far, that is true. $150 million budget, $22 million opening weekend.
$150 million?
Yeah, it is already bombed.
Okay, I take back what I said about the CGI.
Yeah.
That's kind of
I don't understand that.
Unless they spend it all on costumes. Okay, so.
And I want to know if any of it was shot on location. I want to know if they actually went to the wall to shoot any of it.
Oh, I don't know.
Because I'm assuming they didn't build any of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because a lot of the money could have gone there if they built part of the wall, but...
Why would you spend $150 million on this?
I don't know.
Like I saw the trailer and I was like, that looks kind of fun. I didn't think anybody else was going to go see this movie. No one else is going to go see this movie.
No.
This is a movie you might find at Redbox or something in a year.
Yeah.
This is not...
For as much money as they spent on it...
This is not a spectacle movie that everyone's going to go...
They should have worked harder to merchandise it, or excuse me, to market it. If they were going to spend that much money on it, because
already.
The reason it's not doing well, and I think the characters are memorable enough.
Yeah.
The reason it's not doing well, I'm convinced, is just because nobody knows about it.
Yeah, I like this movie.
We saw previews real early, 6 months ago. I want to say we started seeing previews for this movie.
Yeah, it's before I moved here because my friends and I in Florida were talking about it.
But I've seen nothing about it around release, and it's only February. So how do you spend that much money on a big popcorn thriller like this, and not put it later in the year at the very least?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe the studio wasn't sure about it.
It's not going to do well, and that's a bummer because I think it's a fun film.
It's a summer blockbuster kind of thing.
And I walked out of the movie being like, I really like that movie.
You can't release that in February. We've proven that you can release those anytime now, but people got to know about them.
But I walked out of the theater being like, I really like that movie. That movie's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that aren't going to like this movie that are going to get this movie, and that's fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't have spent $150 million on it. Because I would have looked at the script and said, well, this isn't a movie that's for everybody. But I thought it was good. Matt Damon is, for the first third of the movie, the weak link of the film.
Oh, you think?
Part of it's that accent, and part of it's the lines. I liked him all the way through,
but the accent was a thing at the beginning.
Part of it's the accent, and part of it's the lines he's given. The first third of the movie, he feels like he is in a D&D fan film. Like, all of his lines are really like Lord of the Rings jokes. Like, not literally Lord of the Rings jokes, but it's a similar kind of humor, and I was just like, this is weird. Why are you doing this? Like, he had almost no lines of dialogue. He only had witty responses, like retorts to people, and it goes away as the film goes on. But early on, I'm feeling it. I like this movie. This feels like it would be a really fun movie to like sit back with a couple of friends and like drink a couple of beers and watch. And like, this is a movie that I feel like is good, but you could also kind of make fun of it and like just have a good time watching.
Yeah.
I really liked it. I'm bummed that it's not going to make any money and we're never going to see another movie like this again for another 20 years, but I liked it.
Probably true. Maybe we should just, like, keep making things with China and just make things that more people care about.
Or just make it for less money. If this was a $50 million movie, it's not as big a deal.
No, certainly not.
And it looks like a $50 million movie. Well, I mean, again, the sets, the costumes, like, those are all really impressive, but I don't feel like they cost as much as this movie cost. I don't know. What's your point?
Well, this movie made me feel like I might be developing an affinity for monster movies. I don't usually... there was a time where I didn't really care for movies like this that much, and ever since you moved in, and I've been exposed to more like Godzilla things and stuff like that, there's a part of me that, as long as there's kind of a human element to it, I'm kind of enjoying these monster movies more. I liked this. I had a really good time watching it. It is a really entertaining movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is certainly not a super deep and meaningful movie. The message and the themes are somewhat of the obvious place to go, but there's a lot of charm to this film, which I was not expecting at all. The woman who plays the lead commander in this, and I found myself wanting to go back and learn something about Chinese history, because I don't know if women fought in wars in the Middle Ages in China, and I want to know about that, because I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I don't know if they did like the multicolored thing. There was an absurdity to that.
Yeah.
That I hesitate calling absurd, because I don't know if we did that kind of stuff.
I really liked it.
I liked it too. It was real Power Ranger.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always, and it looks like the new Power Rangers movie is doing this, I always wanted the explanation for the colors to be that, like, I promise I won't talk to you only about Power Rangers, the explanation for the colors to be, like they're from different provinces of like, Eltar, and the different, and they all have a different color, and it was really cool to see that kind of thing played out. Like, it's not, they're not different colors in different places. It's all based on what they're supposed to be doing in a battle.
It's archers. It's close combat.
A couple of them, I wasn't sure what they were for exactly.
I don't know what the purple ones do. They also seem to be... Black is close combat, but purple also seems to be close combat. Mm-hmm. Red are the archers.
And then blue is the lances.
And then blue is the base-jumping lancers.
Yeah, and they're amazing.
Yeah, they're super cool.
Probably the coolest thing in this movie is the female soldiers. Mm-hmm. They're amazing.
Yeah.
It's super cool. And what I was going to say is, the woman who plays the lead commander, she is fantastic.
Oh, she's great.
She gives a wonderful performance.
In American, or in English and Chinese.
Yes.
Which I really appreciate. How much
language we had, that was cool. Now, there is one bit, there's one scene that I thought was unintentionally amusing with that, where we have a translator, and then there are a couple places where we put subtitles up for what the Chinese people are saying, and then we hear the English translator say exactly what we just read on screen. Just don't put it on screen. But what is the point of that?
Well, but what I liked is sometimes they didn't. They would paraphrase, or they would say something different. I liked
Yeah, but there were a couple points where they said almost exactly what we saw on screen.
But I think that needs to be there as a contrast to when we don't say exactly what's being said.
Well, maybe so, but it was inconsistent because the majority of that the majority of that scene, they weren't putting subtitles up, and then suddenly there was one, and I don't know why it was there, and anyway, so, like, sometimes that was silly, but, yeah, I was surprised by how much, Chinese was spoken. I thought
pretty much all
great.
the characters except for 2 Chinese characters, they all speak Chinese.
And it gets really... And, of course, they also speak Chinese, but there's just a couple characters that learned English.
Yeah.
There's a really convenient bit, and this movie is built on a couple of big contrivances. One in particular at the beginning that gets Matt Damon and his friend into the fight in the first place is ludicrous. The whole thing is built on a dude not being able to find a key, and it's really funny. But...
It's a big keychain, too, with, like, big keys.
But toward the end, there's...
Like, the doors to the Fortress of Solitude-sized keys.
Toward the end... Yeah, but that gate is enormous. Toward the end, there's a bit where the one guy left that speaks English just happens to be standing right there. And that was a little silly. But yeah, so we built this on some contrivances here and there. But that didn't take away from the rapport that Matt Damon and the female commander have, and there was a real chemistry there. It's not a forced romance. I was really happy about that. I was expecting it to go that place, that way the entire movie, and I felt like it was surprisingly character-driven. Not super character-driven, but much more so than I would have expected.
Deep characters driving the film, but it is character-driven.
But it does feel like... But they feel in character. They feel like they're doing the things that... What I've learned about those characters, they're doing what they would be doing.
The only thing is, I think the friend goes from fun comic relief to bad.
Yeah.
In the third act, and I was like, oh, I didn't realize you were this person.
And he kind of ends up being relegated to a plot.
And I could not figure out who Willem Dafoe was.
And a thematic device where that guy is there to contrast with Matt Damon and to give us something to compare him to as he's going through his character arc, and that guy doesn't learn anything, partly just because he's not there. Like, I feel like he could have, but I don't know.
I could not figure out where Willem Dafoe stood in this film until, like, the end.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, he's that guy. Mm-hmm. Okay. Why isn't he dead already if he's that guy?
I also felt like the Chinese army wouldn't trust him or Matt Damon to the degree they did as quickly as they did with Damon specifically.
Willem Dafoe is just a quagmire. Like, why do they trust him?
Yeah.
Like, what has he been doing for however it was like 20 years or something he's been there?
And the difficulty, because there's this really nice sense of like awe and wonder about this culture, and that's probably my favorite thing.
I love when we go to the Capitol.
Yeah.
And we just go full on.
But what I was going to say
Chinese.
It's the movie, and I think this is part of its purpose, it's roping me in to make me fascinated by this culture to the point where I can't imagine why anybody would want to leave. Mm. And all Dafoe wants to do is leave, and I don't understand his motivation. He's been there for 25 years, and they treat him really well, and I'm just having a hard time fully understanding why he wants to leave. And I mean, like, you can state the obvious. Well, they're kind of keeping him prisoner. Well, he maybe he misses his home. And like at one point you could have said maybe he's like loyal to the people at home, but then that doesn't seem to be the case. Mm. But like we don't talk about it. I want to know more about him because they've convinced me that this is like a wonderful place to be, and like I was really interested in that culture. It gets Damon to a place where he would have a difficult time leaving, and I bought that. And you've seen movies where the person like either with time travel or with leaving a particular area where we get to the end and we do and this movie doesn't do this, but we do the really stereotypical bit where the character says I don't want to go home, I want to stay, and for like no good reason. Mm-hmm. Hard not to compare this to Ninja Turtles 3 in places. Like this is what Ninja Turtles 3 should have been in some ways. So it's cool to be convinced that a person is as sucked into this culture as he is.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't know. You buy that he connects with the people.
Yeah.
Like they're doing really good jobs with the performances in this movie, which isn't something I necessarily expected coming. Like I really came into this being like, it's gonna be like some colored soldiers fighting monsters, and
was it not way more talky than you would have expected?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was going to be mostly an action fest, and then we would have obligatory dramatic moments. The drama drives the action as much as you could possibly expect in a thing like this.
Yep.
Now, don't get me wrong, it is still a really summer blockbustery popcorn kind of thing, and my least favorite thing and my biggest complaint is the obviously made for 3D slow motion action bits that just take me out and are obnoxious. This movie was too good for that material, and we did that. We do the thing where somebody like fires an arrow and it has to go, and it's really slow moving, and it has to go right up into the screen and then veer off, and like I feel like even, and I mean I don't know what 3D is like, but I feel like even if you were watching this in 3D, that's gotta be distracting before it's.
Was this even released
super cool? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, couldn't you tell? Couldn't you tell it was clearly there were a bunch of things that were really shot for 3D?
No, I just thought like, oh, we're still doing the Matrix thing, like.
I mean, I'd say 300 before the Matrix, but yeah. So I don't know. Like, did that bug you?
Didn't bug me at all.
Really?
No,
I hate that.
No. My biggest complaint is that halfway through the movie, a character dies that I've barely known, and I'm supposed to care, and I don't. And it felt kind of contrived that they died.
Oh, okay.
Or how they died.
Yeah,
that's my biggest complaint. But. Yeah.
No, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed this. And it's not getting good reviews. And
is it not?
I feel like people are seeing a different movie than I'm seeing. Yeah, 38% on Rotten Tomatoes.
38%. Oh, this is better than that.
I think it's better than that.
This is at least a 60. I'm not saying like.
It's not a brilliant movie by any stretch.
I want to stress this because no one ever stresses this. Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes is not a grade.
Yeah.
It is a percentage of people that enjoy it.
We've talked about this on the channel before.
I don't think this is a movie for everyone. But I feel like it's for more than 38%. I don't know. I enjoyed this movie. But I like movies like this. I don't know.
Yeah. I was just surprised that there was any kind of a human element.
I think part of it.
Some of those characters.
I think part of it might be that it's a sensibilities thing. With the Chinese films tend to be more.
They're wearing their emotions on their sleeve.
Yeah, and I don't know if people like we're in such a critical culture at this point that I don't know if people can deal with that.
But then
it's like, well, it just tells me what I'm supposed to be thinking. It's like, well, but it's...
And that's true, and it does do that.
But, I don't know.
But
this is not 38%.
That's what it set out to be. I don't think you can hold it to exactly the same standard that you do other kinds of movies.
Yeah, I agree.
It's breaking certain rules, and I think it knows it. You know, like I said, there's an absurdity to this that's there intentionally.
Yeah. Or if not an absurdity, a melodramaticness that it knows it's got.
That's exactly right.
It's a heightened film. It's a heightened world, and I don't know. I liked it. I really liked it.
Yeah, I kind of dug it too. And I was surprised by that because you were excited about this. With the second trailer, I was like, oh boy, the effects look like Legion. I don't want to see this. And then we went, and it was all right.
And having seen a number of Chinese and Japanese films. Like, the CGI didn't bug me. I was expecting worse.
You also probably thought they spent
but I didn't know it was a $150 million movie, so that brings down a little bit. But regardless, I thought the creature designs were cool. I
like the thing they do with their head.
The queen does with
when she's summoning.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
They remind me a lot of the Hellbeast from Constantine.
Yeah. They
kind of had that going on.
Well, and I thought it was funny because at the end of the credits, because there's like 9 people listed in the credits for like screenplay, story, like it's one of those movies. Mm-hmm. But one of the people listed for story was Max Brooks, who wrote World War Z, that has zombie. Well, at least the movie had zombies like piling on. I was like, do we just think we needed to credit him because this was in World War Z?
Or is that why it's there? Because he was involved in that.
But I don't know I don't think that was in the World War Z book. I think that was just in the movie.
Yeah.
And he didn't write the movie, he just wrote the book.
Oh. Okay, well, that's weird.
No, I just thought it was an amusing coincidence. I was like, oh, Max Brooks was tied to this, and it's got a bunch of monsters crawling on top of each other.
I like this better than I like World War Z, I'll say that.
World War Z, which is getting a sequel.
The movie, not the... Yeah. I don't have any interest in seeing that.
I don't need this to have a sequel.
No, certainly.
But I'd like to see.
But it wouldn't, because it's making no money. And
but I would like to see more films in this vein.
Like this,
yeah.
Yeah, I certainly don't need a thing like this to be franchised out.
No, but
that would be silly.
I wouldn't mind a couple more movies like I wouldn't mind some more like Chinese kung fu-y films coming over here and getting made as like a co-production.
Yeah, and I think Matt Damon should do more things like this. I think he was really right for a movie.
He had like this weirdness to him in this movie where I was like, "Oh, you're really enjoying being here."
Yeah.
Like you wanted to make a movie like this.
I thought that was infectious. Like I thought especially he and the female lead were really authentic and honest in their performances.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. We will see you with lots more videos here on Geekvolution in the coming days. And in the meantime, I am Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
See you next time.